Gamecast Continuum.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Gamecast Continuum. Thank you so much for tuning in live here on Mixer, watching us on YouTube, or listening on Podbean or iTunes. We are your hosts, DC Skater Shane.
Mr. Bojangles 1984.
And
Drake Dangerson, and I'm probably about to fucking sneeze.
off to a rousing start.
Yes.
Indeed.
Gamecast Continuum is a gaming podcast where we randomly select some of the greatest games from past and present, and then go into their history in detail. But before we get into all the fun, let's just take care of a little bit of housekeeping. We do this podcast live on Sunday nights at mixer.com/gamecastcontinuum. The best way to keep up to date with the show, though, is to follow us on Twitter over at GCContinuum, because basically we'll tweet out what the next week's episode is going to be and let you know if there's any changes or any adjustments to our recording schedule. But
I'm holding out hope that one day we're going to get Bible games, but that hope's fading.
I don't think they made the list, unfortunately. Either did Oregon Trail. Right? But with all that out of the way, let's get into this week's game, shall we?
Third
Hopefully
time's a
let's get
charm.
through it. Yeah, Jesus Christ.
This week, well, for the past 3 weeks, we've been trying to go through and discuss Dishonored. So far, so good.
Dishonorable.
It's been a dishonorable couple weeks, but yeah, I mean, they were developed by Arcane Studios, who was based in France. They came up around in 1999, and most known really for the Call of Duty World at War, BioShock 2, obviously both Dishonored games, and more recently they also developed Prey, which I haven't gotten to play, but I see a lot of people playing it.
Eat, pray, love.
But backing them, as far as putting the game out and publishing it, you have Bethesda, which based in Maryland, founded in 1986, which I didn't actually realize they were that old, to be honest.
No, I mean,
I was a little surprised at that, but obviously Elder Scrolls and Fallout is what they're most known for. I looked through the other list of what else they had, and there was nothing really that jumped out. I was like, oh, that's popular.
except for like,
Evil Within maybe would be like the only thing I could think of.
Yeah, there wasn't much.
Quake Champions now too. Bethesda's behind that as well.
Fair enough. But yeah, I mean, Dishonored came out in October of 2012, and at the time it was available, PS3, Xbox 360, as well as on Windows. Which I think it came out in 2012. I don't know where that was in the life cycle with the PS3.
About 2 years from
The end
PS4.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah, somewhere around there. And also, if we don't get our stuff right, whoever's listening out there, let us know on Twitter. Say, hey, dumb shit, you're dumb.
You're a dummy.
You're a dumb dummy. This is what don't you troll me or I will block you. But yeah, please let us know if we get any facts wrong. It's because some of this stuff is just off the top of our heads.
Yeah. Most of it.
70%. It's fine.
Yeah. I mean, we do a lot of research, but there is some things that we just kind of go off the cuff with. So yeah, like Drake said, don't be afraid to tweet at us, send us emails, stuff like that. Just let us know if we screw anything up, and we'll fix it in the next episode. Maybe if we remember. But anyway.
If you're nice about it.
Yeah, if you're a complete asshole, you might just ignore it and be like, fuck that person. But
if you're nice about it, we might send you some ice cream.
Maybe, or a box of glitter.
Ooh, a box set of the movie glitter.
Ooh,
there you go.
You're in charge of that, by the way.
Well, I have a whole attic full of copies of it, so get ready.
Nice. We're already prepared for our giveaways. Uh, uh, Dishonored was a first-person action-adventure game. Had a heavy emphasis on the stealth action. You could use gadgets as well as the environment to rid yourself of the enemies around you. And when you go to each level, it's a self-contained level, but it has multiple avenues for completion. So it gives the player some options as far as how they would like to proceed through each different environment. So it didn't seem as linear because you did have a choice of how you wish to complete each one. Between each mission, you would go to the central hub, which they called the Hound Pits Pub, or HPP for short. While you were there, you could meet with allies, as well as getting briefed on the next mission, convert loot into new equipment. Essentially, it's like the tower in Destiny. I mean, you just go there and do all the monotonous bullshit before you go on to your next mission.
So you creep people and sit in bushes and stare at, NPCs and stuff, or
Yeah.
Try to...
put your head near their crotches, Drake.
What?
Yeah.
What?
It's hearsay. Don't you dare.
I got photos.
Yeah, I recall doing that for like an hour in the tower one
Burn
night.
them.
But aside from that, there were 4 different difficulties that you could choose from. Aside from just making the enemies more aware or harder to deal with, it actually affected your life regeneration and how much damage you delivered. And also the effectiveness of your health and mana potions. Well, I said health regeneration, so I guess that covered it. Anyway, on the easiest setting, they actually gave you health regen automatically, so you didn't have to worry about health potions. But
Wolverine mode.
yeah, just self regen. It's popular in like just about every other game that you'll play these days.
I'll say every other game, no matter what difficulty you play on, you have health regen of some form. But
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, outside of the difficulty levels you could choose from, the game also featured a variety of RPG elements, such as being able to upgrade your powers, and as we described in a couple of points before, it offered you choices, so then you got a non-linear consequences in the game.
Also, like a lot of games these days, even if they aren't an RPG, they have a lot of RPG elements.
Pretty much, almost everything now has at least some form of
experience points and points.
I mean, shit, racing games have them now, for fuck's sake.
Well, players like to be able to make their own choices. I mean, it's very rare that you find people that like the fact that you're just on a rail and you just keep going forward without being able to affect how the game progresses as you go.
Yeah, the only rail I want to be on is a nice one of cocaine.
There you go.
But I mean, it also
Our drug reference number 1.
With having any kind of RPG stuff too, it kind of just gives you something to kind of work at. I mean, instead of just, all right, we're going to play this level, done. It at least gives you, all right, well, if I do a little bit better, maybe playing through this level, I might get enough XP to level up, I don't know, whatever the fuck power I'm trying to do at this point.
Yeah.
So it gives you at least somewhat of a goal.
Yeah, I like those sort of elements in the games because, I mean, again, it allows the player some sort of control, or the ability to power up their character in some sort of way, which is really nice to have those kinds of features in the games now. But sometimes they could have just left that shit out. But anyway, one of the most interesting things is you can actually complete the entire game without even killing anybody. So you can be mainly stealth, just making it through each and every encounter without killing anybody, including the bosses as well. If you did that, however, there were some adverse effects that could happen as well as a result. So you kind of have to gauge how you want to play the game. And it's one of the great things about Dishonored, and I think why it did so well is because there was a lot of choices. Even though it was kind of a linear game, didn't really feel like it all that much.
Yeah.
And what determined how people interacted with you in the game was their chaos system. It wasn't just a typical good versus good or evil meter. The game
dark
kept
or light
track.
side.
Yeah, the dark or light side. Yeah,
hero
it
villain,
kept.
you know.
What was that?
Well, like, I mean, a lot of games started putting those like Infamous had what it was like. I think it was hero slash villain, I believe.
Hero,
But
anti-hero, or something like that.
yeah, but
Yeah,
see, that one
Yeah, I
was
think
more
so.
of, even though they slapped a different name on it, that was just your typical good versus evil. You start if you go around electrocuting pedestrians, that meter goes to shit real quick.
and why not?
Yeah, why
Well,
wouldn't you? They wouldn't
but
have put it in the game if they didn't want me to do it.
Exactly.
well, I mean, what I like though with that though too is that you could actually like you got a whole variety of different powers and crap from going the other route too. It wasn't just
Yeah.
you were looked upon as a bad evil person. You actually gained variety of different powers by playing an asshole, more or less.
Like an actual physical asshole. 'Cause
Yep, that was the
that's-
last unlock.
Sounds like a fucking awkward game.
You transmog
Yeah.
into an asshole and you start
Yeah.
crapping all over the place.
You just start talking shit. Heyo.
Oh my
Talk
god.
shit, get hit.
Uh, but yeah, the chaos system. Whew, derailed. Okay.
Professor
it's-
Chaos.
For once, I'm not the one to shut up, so there.
Yeah. But yeah,
It's true.
it's instead of it just looking at your actions as good or evil, it actually took things like friendly fire, the violence that you did in the game, and deaths that you caused, and that's what allowed it to modify the game world based on your actions. You know, they were kind of scripted changes for the most part, but there were also dynamic changes that could occur in the game world, such as adding more rats or plague citizens to the levels. If you were playing as such, a douchebag, they would try to make it a little bit harder by adding just a little bit more of the enemies. But they'd also go as far as adding new scenes to the game as well, because how you portrayed yourself in earlier portions of the game may or may not cause the character to act so differently that there's just a completely new scene that they added in, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's great for replayability.
Yeah,
True.
you can go through just stealth the whole way the first time, and you can go in, just murder everybody the second time, and just see what you get,
I tend to be stealth at first, and then once that goes out the window, everything dies.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
It's kind of how I was in Metal Gear Solid. I'd say, well, fuck it, I'm killing everything.
Well, and the great thing about Dishonored, too, is they didn't really penalize the player that much for choosing to go one way or the other, so it was pretty much just open to however you wanted to play the game. So
Even though it was advertised as like a, because I mean, when I think of Dishonored, I mean, I do think of more of a stealthy game, just from seeing all the gameplay that they showed initially when they were putting it out and promoting it. It looked like a stealthy game, but
Yeah.
you didn't have to play it that way, and it wasn't like, oh well, you got caught, now your mission's failed. Like I know, like a lot of the earlier Metal Gear games, once you got caught, you were fucked. You had to restart, and
Nah.
yeah, the mission just got unplayable because of how many enemies they would send to the area and stuff once you triggered somebody's alert,
But like I remember, was it Splinter Cell games where like if the enemy sees you, it was like game over. I was like, okay, you guys are making this really unfun.
Yeah.
But they did change that though in one of the later as the Splinter Cell ones came out. 'Cause I remember playing, I think it was Blacklist or whatever the hell it was, and you could, even if you got caught, you could sit there and mow down. They actually give a
Lawnmower.
finite amount of enemies, so once you killed them, your level of fucking caught went to nothing again, which is kind of nice. As opposed to
cool.
we're just gonna keep sending enemies because why not?
Yeah,
You can-
knit them out.
Yep.
It's part of the Human Genome Project. Do it. I'm watching you.
Okay.
Take that sip. All right. God. Makes my sweat. Oh God, I'm sweating. All
Good.
right. So this game has a pretty dynamic story. There's no one way to do it, but the setting is quite kind of interesting. It takes place in an industrialized city known as Dunwall, a city where technology and otherworldly forces coexist. So it's steampunk.
Steampunk
that's-
with magic, yeah.
That's basically what I thought of when I was reading it. I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
I'm just gonna go play Final Fantasy VII then. It's designed to look like London and Edinburgh from the late 1800s and early 1900s. It's probably like a lot of brick stuff in cloudy weather.
Yeah.
At least that's what the movies let me know.
To believe.
Yeah, it's like Ohio in the fall time constantly. It's ruled by an oppressive regime that ended up coming to power after the Empress was assassinated and her daughter was kidnapped. Oh God, it sounds like America right now.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, I bet their fucking emperor and this is an orange asshole too. It's a center for fishing as well as whaling. And whale oil is actually a valuable resource to them and is used to power said city. That sucks for the whales.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Unless their water is just being overrun by a bunch of whales, which...
It's just constant whales.
There's no ocean, it's just a bunch of whales just moving.
Yeah. Make a really long Free Willy movie with the whales just constantly jumping over the break wall and that poor child thinking there's one of them that's just going to land on him.
Halfway and just...
Boom. Once somebody discovered that the whale oil could be used as fuel, the government actually used it to develop some weaponry and led to corruption. A big surprise there.
Yeah, right.
Unfortunately, the city was struck with a plague that got spread by rats and ended up killing the poor and forcing the rich into isolation. Jeez. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The rats nowadays just took human form. But
Yeah.
anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, are you okay? That's a gurgly one.
I'm
Blink
fine.
twice if you're okay.
I'm
That
fine.
wasn't me.
That was me.
I know. Yeah.
You can't see him, so you can't blink.
I'm picturing him in my head as I'm going along.
Naked.
But there's like a tiger sitting behind him though, like he's in he's the final boss in a video game.
I was just finishing my drink.
And petting his tiger. All right, there's a lot of characters to this game. First off, you play as Corvo Atano. Corvo, what a great name. Corvo was the former bodyguard to the Empress of Dunwall, which is kind of funny because it means he kind of sucks. After the Empress was murdered and Corvo was framed, he becomes an infamous assassin. Interestingly enough, during the game, he is kept silent as the designers wanted the players to be able to project themselves onto the character. Sounds familiar?
It is, but it was kind of... I thought that's kind of neat, though. Like, I kind of like when games do that they don't just give you a set of...
Forcing,
forcing the character on you. Whereas here, again, if you want to play like a complete asshole as him...
Yeah. And you can like basically make up the dialogue in your head. This is gonna like we're not gonna go down the road of this because this is gonna get into like a very like weird headspace and we're gonna start talking about Destiny again.
Yeah.
But that being said, Destiny was not the first game to do this. This is a staple in a lot of RPG games where the main protagonist was silent.
Yeah, just didn't say anything.
Yeah, because the game developers wanted you to have the voice of the main character. They wanted, what was it, Chrono Trigger? I think Chrono was silent during that. I know a lot of the Dragon Quest games, the protagonist is silent. So this was a smart move on their part. I'm for the silent main character, but that's neither here nor there. Feel free to tweet us and tell us we're wrong again.
But I mean, it's a better. It's a nice way though to get your audience immersed into it though too.
Yeah, but I mean, the protagonist doesn't have to be silent for you to be able to put yourself in their shoes. The story is done well enough, and you can still choose the dialogue options for the character, even if they have a voice. It doesn't really take me out of the game.
I disagree. I mean, it doesn't take.
I think it always depends on like the game you're actually playing. Like Duke Nukem, you would have obviously now, playing the game in hindsight, what it is, like them giving the voice to the character was key to the character.
Right.
But you get games, I think it's like Fallout 4, where the character wasn't silent, and it just kind of came off like you created the character, the face, and all this other stuff, but like the character didn't really say what you wanted him to say.
It wasn't a good representation of you, if you
Yeah.
will.
I mean, sometimes you couldn't even be like an asshole in the game, which is a little unfortunate.
Well, when you go that route too, of like the complete giving you that much control over like customizing the character, you create them to be, it's basically you in avatar form.
Yeah.
And with that, then you're
not a blue alien. Jeez.
What if I want a blue alien?
We can hook our tails together and talk about that.
Oh, maybe later. But like, in games like that, especially like your more open world type games, in a game like this where it's a lot more linear, it's harder to kind of pull yourself into the character because you're still going down a set path no matter what you're doing. Whereas your more open world games with keeping the characters completely silent, I think it's a better choice in a way because you can actually create that story since you can kind of do as you please.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, it kind of takes away a part of story building for them as well, though. If your character is just silent the entire time, doesn't say shit, I mean, there's no lines of dialogue, there's no real interaction between your character and other characters in the world, so it kind of takes away a story point for the team as well, which isn't necessarily a bad thing if they're able to still tell a really good story even without your character really being involved. I mean, honestly, if he's not talking, how involved is he really?
But sometimes like if you're doing the silent protagonist thing, a lot of games what they'll do is like they won't awkwardly look at that character, like a famous game that we know of. They won't the character won't be just like staring into like fucking dead space, like, and they're like, oh, and they're telling you the story, but the character isn't saying, just standing there and looking. Usually they'll just kind of like, they'll put the view into the character as opposed to like outside the character, which leads to that creepy shit.
Twiddling your thumbs, just
doing the dead-eyed stare. So I mean, I could see both. Like, I played Horizon Zero Dawn recently, and that game wouldn't have been great if Aloy was silent.
If Aloy was kept silent, that game wouldn't have been as good.
It would have been fucking terrible. All right, moving on.
Yeah.
I love our debates, though.
Yeah, no, it's good conversation for sure.
Mm-hmm. This is gonna be fun. I love it when you guys give me these awesome names. Jessamine Caldwin the First.
Yes, first of her name.
Jessamine, get in here. I need you to rule my country.
Make me
catch a ride. Empress of the Empire of Isles gets murdered and witnesses the kidnapping of her daughter Emily. Tasks Corvo with the safe return of Emily with her dying breath. Martha.
How do you know that name?
Every episode. Take a drink.
It's like a staple.
Yeah.
Staple.
Next we have Admiral Farley Havelock, founder of the Loyalist Conspiracy, a group that I'm going to call him Havelock. It's spelled Havelock, but I want to say Havelock.
Havelock.
Yeah.
Formed sometime after the assassination, whose goal is to overthrow a regime and rescue. Orchestrated Corvo's escape from prison with Teague Martin so that he could help the conspiracy. Is this an erotic novel or
maybe?
These names kind of sound like it.
Yeah.
And I've
been watching a lot of Pornhub and coming up with these names.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it. Shit.
My only question was he really an admiral? Because admirals are part of the Navy. This makes me question everything about this game. Next we have Piero Joplin, an inventor, who is the one who created Corvo's mask, which is given to you when you first meet. How convenient. Piero has been visited by the dreams of a boy dying. Then he dreamed of the void, and a character he believed to be death, and then drew inspiration from a dream about the Outsiders, Outsider, Hall and Nash, to start creating the mask. Also created Corvo's crossbow and sword,
There you
and
go.
Yeah,
probably
so
made a delicious drink.
essentially he's the one that creates all like the gadgets. Well, not all of the gadgets that Corvo gets to use in the game, but good portion.
At
of
least the
them.
stuff to get you started.
Yeah.
He's like the scientist who created Inspector Gadget.
Da-da-da-da-da.
That's right. Lord Trevor Pendleton. Lord Trevor Pendleton.
You should just start going by that, by the way.
I can't. It's the name of a video game. There's only one Drake Dangerson, so don't.
That's fair.
A leader of the conspiracy who uses his connections to high society to help the conspiracy. Had a rough upbringing where he was tortured by his brothers.
Oh.
Yeah. They tied him to his crib with a sack of vipers when he was 5.
Bag of Randy Orton's.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nearly killed him when out on a hunting trip immediately prior to the events of the game.
Yeah. So it says
Jesus
a lot about
Christ.
his character and how his demeanor is in the game. Figured it was worth putting a little bit of a backstory for Mr. Pendleton.
Also ritualistically shaved his scrotum. Mommy, no. Samuel Beechworth, the boatman for the conspiracy. Little is known about his past. He mentions that his father wanted to become an overseer, but that didn't suit him. What the fuck are we talking about? Fallout again? Takes Corvo to and from about every mission in the game. Sometimes has useful information about the environment that you're traveling to. It's gonna be warm there, so you better dress appropriately.
Better bring your rain jacket.
Yeah. Don't forget your towel. All right, we got Teague Martin. He's the overseer of the Abbey of the Everyman. Forged an alliance with Havelock and Pendleton after the assassination of the Empress in order to reinstate Emily Caldwin to the throne. To the throne!
Yeah.
Instrumental in Corvo's escape from prison. Gets imprisoned after it's discovered that he helped with the breakout. Corvo helps break him out, though. What a guy. Yeah, Teague Martin. I think Corvo kissed him right on the mouth.
Open mouth?
Yeah.
Well,
and
being an
probably,
overseer of the Abbey of the Everyman, which was like the, I don't know, religious body in the game.
He oversaw his tongue in his mouth.
Oh.
Yeah. But yeah, he gets thrown in prison once it's discovered that he helped Corvo escape, and then Corvo, being the great guy that he is, helps break Mr. Teague Martin back out of prison. So, came full circle for him at least.
Yeah. And then a circle jerk. But moving
Before he
on.
dropped the soap.
You can't have
Oh
a
my
game without a
God.
circle jerk.
It's true.
That's the mini game. Tap circle.
Yeah.
Somebody got that awesomely leaky biscuit. Next we have Callista Cornow.
Ooh.
Cornow, member of the conspiracy, caretaker of Emily Caldwin. We have Vera Moray. She's from the Eel family. I'm just kidding. I can't back that up. Also known as Granny Rags,
Ew.
because
Yeah.
she's a granny that's always on the rags. Wait, what?
That's what I thought when I first read it too. When I was putting the characters together. Oh my god.
Old bleeding pussy. All right, technical difficulties.
That's the nickname.
Was a wealthy aristocrat living in the high reaches of the society. Goes on an ill-fated expedition to the Pandician continent. Yeah, Pandician continent, and falls into practicing black magic, in turn making her go mad. Is homeless and blind during in-game. Gives Corvo 2 missions.
Yep.
Dowd. What the fuck?
Dowd.
Is he fucking? Is he Sting?
Seal.
Seal? Fucking McLovin over here.
Yeah.
Renowned as the Knife of Dunwall, leader of a group of assassins called the Whalers, and they're also a Motown band on the weekends. It's Dowd and the Whalers.
Ooh.
Responsible for the murder of the Empress and kidnapping of her daughter Emily. We got Slackjaw, otherwise known as Cletus the Slackjawed Yokel.
No,
Crime boss of the Battle Street Gang. Wanted man with a large bounty on his head. His crimes include larceny, assault, mendacity, unlawful management of prostitutes. Wait, what? Public urination.
Yes, he was a
Put on
pimp.
his prostitutes.
He was a
So there
pimp.
was lawful. Yeah.
He had to keep his pimp hand strong.
Well,
Well, that's where the public urination came into play, I think.
Yep.
I'd like to see that.
You
outside.
All or Nash.
Bit of both.
Oh.
Yeah. It's all fake. Anyway, it's a mysterious, morally ambiguous, supernatural being. Probably showed up in another game called Destiny, and then she was never seen from again because she spoke terrible parts. Sporked. Many worship this guy. Worshippers could be sentenced to death by the Abbey of the Everyman. Hey, we talked about that. Created by the Void. Oh my God. Created by the Void and appears to be the source of all magic in the Dishonored games. Oh, that's cool.
So avoid Walker.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus, stop it. God, ref, get in there. Hiram Burroughs, the Lord Regent, was the royal spy master of the Empress, the mastermind of the coup against the Empress. Covers his tracks by blaming Corvo. His rule is oppressive and corrupt, causing the people of Dunwall to rebel. So he sounds like the bad guy.
Yeah, just a little. A bit of a douche.
Yeah.
Of an asshole.
Yeah. Nobody's perfect, so yeah, you can stop fucking judging him. He's okay.
Little judgy?
Sure, he's such a nice guy.
I know.
He covered his tracks and blamed you.
Yeah.
I'm sure he had the best of intentions.
Sure he did.
Well, we'll find out. But yeah, I mean, the game itself, basically it starts off after you return from a foreign voyage to seek aid from the deadly plague that's ravaging the city. Corvo ends up traveling to the Tower of Dunwall.
See what you did there.
Right? You meet with the Empress. You deliver a message to her, and you end up being attacked by their teleporting assassins led by Dowd. They magically restrain you, kill the Empress, and kidnap her daughter. And the Empress's spy master arrives and has you imprisoned because, well, you're there, they're dead, she's gone. Yep. Why not blame you? You're the scapegoat.
Yeah, exactly.
6 months later, though, the spy master ends up seizing control of Dunwall as the Lord Regent, and from interrogating Corvo, the Lord Regent confesses that he masterminded the assassination and framed Corvo. So you find out a little bit who's behind everything sort of early on, in a way.
Sounds like the OJ trial, actually.
If the mask don't fit, you must acquit.
That's right.
That's a good one.
The next day, though, you're set to be executed, and when you're in the cell, though, you get a letter that gets smuggled in from Empire loyalists, and it gives you the means to escape from prison. But after you escape, Samuel ends up ferrying you to the Hound Pit's pub, where you meet loyalists led by Admiral Havelock.
Admiral Havelock.
Admiral Akbar.
It's a trap.
It's a trap.
It's a trap. She has a penis.
Okay.
Hey, DC. We can't hear you.
What?
There we go. I couldn't hear you.
Open your goddamn ears.
Okay.
Okay. But yeah, when you're resting at the pub, you're taken to a dream world where you meet the outsider. You get branded by his mark.
I was gonna say jackknife power bombed, but
Or he pees on you, marks you.
Yeah, marks you after giving you the razor's edge.
Yep. Corvo then is sent by the Loyalists to eliminate the conspirators behind Lord Regent's plot. And you're given the option to, as we talked earlier, you have the option to either kill or just neutralize the targets, which your first target that you come up against is the High Overseer Campbell. So even right off the bat, you have the option to take it however you want to go. If you want to kill him, go ahead. If you just want to neutralize them and move forward, you can do that as well.
Yeah.
But during that mission, you actually end up meeting your favorite character, Granny Rags, and Slackjaw.
I think
Granny Bloody
Slackjaw's
Pussy.
my bloody pussy. I think Slackjaw's my favorite character because public urination.
The unlawful management of prostitutes.
So he pees on the prostitutes. Got it.
There we go.
Yeah, you end up removing the High Overseer, and you discover that Emily is being held in a brothel called the Golden Cat.
The Golden Cat. Wow.
The golden cat beats the bloody pussy.
Every time.
Yeah.
Under the supervision of the twins, Custis and Morgan Pendleton. You end up rescuing Custis.
Custis.
You end up rescuing Emily, and you eliminate the brothers. But again, I'm assuming at that point you have the choice of whether kill them or just escape with her.
Knock them out.
Just knock
Club them like a small seal.
Hey, come on.
Hey.
All you need is a little club. Just bash
We
them
have
over the head.
fucking standards around here, man. Stop it with that club and seal shit.
Oh.
You're gonna be okay, Drake. Can you carry on?
They have puppy faces.
You end up after you get her back to the pub, she's taken into the care of Callista to prepare her to become the Empress. While you're set to go abduct the genius scientist Sokolov, who you find out is responsible for the Lord Regent's powerful technology. So the brains behind, the tech behind everything.
It's the Bobby Heenan.
The Bobby Heenan.
Yep.
Sokolov is taken to the pub for interrogation, and he ends up telling you the identity of the Lord Regent's financer, Lady Boyle.
Everybody in this
Maybe
game
it's
has some
named
sort of skin disease or something?
Yeah, no, because she.
Giant...
It's not there.
No.
No.
You don't think?
I think it's a little south.
Oof.
Yep,
Anyways.
right on the nipple.
Oh. So one side's larger than the other?
No, there's just a big festering boil on one of the areolas. There, take that.
Ugh. You end up infiltrating her masquerade ball, and you figure out which of the three sisters is the Lord Regent's mistress, and you dispose of her.
That's rude.
Doesn't say how you dispose of her.
Yeah, probably with a fat dick.
Well, cripple her. She's walking funny for a week. It's fine.
God.
Going back to the pub again. Sir Havelock confirms that that you did enough damage to move on the Lord Regent. So essentially, as you're playing, from what I'm gathering, is basically as you're playing through the game, you kind of work up the influence, if you will, to start taking down him, more or less.
Yeah. I mean, the goal is to get Emily back in power.
Right. So you have to take him down. So by slowly taking out working your way up to him, basically.
Yeah.
You end up infiltrating the Tower of Dunwall, and you remove him from power. And in the process, you learn that he intentionally imported the plague to basically eradicate the lower classes of society. Although things escalated really quick, and
Sure did.
well, you bring in a bunch of you bring in the plague, and well,
What a
look happened.
fucking asshole. I hope he stubs his toe when he gets out of bed tomorrow morning.
Steps on a Lego.
Oh, god damn it.
You end up returning back to the Hound's Pit, and the Loyalists are celebrating their success. And after sharing a drink with everybody, you go up to your room and collapse. When you wake up,
Lightweight.
hey, the drink was poisoned by Samuel at the behest of Havelock and his Loyalist allies, Trevor Pendleton and Teague Martin, to prevent you from interfering in their plan to install Emily as the Empress and rule through her.
You mean to tell me a group of friendly characters turn their back on you during the game?
Get the fuck out. Plot twist.
No.
A fucking heel turn and a half right there.
But Samuel still does remain loyal to you and gave you a non-lethal dose of poison. But he sets you adrift on the river and flees.
He doesn't want to seem too much on your side, because then the Loyalists would probably kill him.
So
It's like, I just kind of like you.
So he puts you on a makeshift raft and pushes you down the river.
Yeah.
But when you wake up, you're a prisoner from Dowd and his men. The assholes who killed the Empress in the first place, and they basically intend to. There's a bounty on your head, so they try to. Their intent is to claim it, because Lord Regent Havelock put it on your head, since you're nowhere to be found. You end up defeating Dowd and his assassins before traveling through his territory and into the sewers, where you find again Granny Rags attempting to cook Slackjaw.
Ah. Well,
Yeah.
that's not terrifying.
Yeah.
Not at all.
But this gives you a choice, though. Here's where you have to eliminate either Slackjaw or Granny Rags, but you find out she's actually a witch named Vera More.
Eel.
She's an eel. Turns into an eel.
Just right there in front of you.
Oof.
Once you wipe out whoever you decide to take out, you work your way back to the pub, and you find it overrun with guards, and that Havelock killed many of the Loyalists. Goddamn turncoat.
I know. He's such a jerk now.
Well, you discover where Havelock took Emily, and you can save Piero, Sokolov, and Kalista. Or Kalista.
That's nice, at least.
You end up signaling to Samuel, who ferries. You get ferried to the former Lord Regent's lighthouse, and after infiltrating the lighthouse, you have the choice of subduing Pendleton and Martin, or you find that find Havelock to ensure that the Loyalist actions are never known, that he had killed them. So it seems like at the end of.
I was gonna say, assuming that seems like it's depending on how you played the game up until that point would determine which part of the game you would get here.
What route? Yeah.
Yeah. So either they're still alive and you have to subdue them, or he's already had them killed.
And everything is kind of wiped under the rug.
Yeah.
Once you get finished though with Havelock, you may or may not rescue Emily, depending, I guess, again on choices made previously throughout. His journal reveals that Lord Regent suspects that Emily is Corvo's daughter. Dun dun dun.
Yeah. At least this wasn't a weird old boy ending where he slept with his daughter. That would have been made for a very awkward game.
A little bit. But coming into the ending, they had various endings depending on how you, upon the level of chaos that you had throughout the game. If you save Emily, she ends up getting to the throne as Empress with Corvo at her side. And if a small amount of chaos only has been caused, you get a golden age that dawns and the plague is actually overcome.
Does that mean the Traveler shows up?
Yes, it does. After many decades, Corvo ends up dying of natural causes, and Empress Emily Caldwin I Jesus Christ Almighty, Empress Emily Caldwin the First, the Wise.
Yeah.
Buries him beside Empress Jessamine. For fuck's sake. But if you have too much chaos, so if you wreaked a whole bunch of havoc throughout the game, the city still remains in turmoil and is overrun with the plague. And if you failed to save Emily, Dunwall actually crumbles and you flee the city by boat. So they gave at least 3 or 4 different endings, which I think is kind of neat.
Yeah.
And not only not only does it vary by how much chaos that you create, it also varies on whether or not you saved her or not too. So you got a whole bunch of different ways to go depending on how.
It's kind of what I liked about a lot of these games, like, and it was all similar around the same time because I think it was like a few years after was it Heavy Rain came out, and like that game had like 26 different endings, all of them like various shades of fucked up, but like it gave, huh?
I got all kinds of fucked up ending in that one.
I know, it makes you want to go eat ice cream and watch a fucking Disney movie. But anyways, it was around this time all the games, like the Rage was like doing this. It was like, but it was like various degrees of success. Some games were just like, oh, we have 30 different endings, but it was just like a word here or there was fucking changed. Or like a weird mystery character would show up or something, nothing like substantial. But this this is really cool that like it sounds like this game was a success with it as opposed to other games that weren't.
And they were big enough, and they really went drastic on the endings, which is kind of rare. I mean, it really is. A lot of games don't go that far as
It's because the development for it's got to be a nightmare.
Yeah.
I believe that.
You have to script many different avenues.
Yep.
Like if, and, or.
Yeah, there's a lot of or, and.
And, or, but not this. There's so many different programming routes that you'd have to set up for. So, but it's nice they were able to make it work. And throughout the game, had some pretty good music from what I understand. The score itself was composed by a Daniel Licht, L-I-C-H-T. I have no idea.
Lich King.
Yeah, the Lich King. Daniel the Lich King. Okay. He also did some work on the soundtracks for Silent Hill Downpour, both Dishonored titles, and Silent Hill Book of Memories. And he also did some work on scores for seasons of the TV show Dexter. And he considers that his more visible project, but doesn't call it his big break, really. It was just something that was more known by a larger audience. But and then you get to the voice cast, which had a pretty robust voice cast that Dishonored did. Some of the
voice cast really sort of surprised me, just because of how stacked it actually was.
Yeah, there's some big names, some actors and actresses that played a part in the game. Like Granny Bloody Pussy was played by Susan Sarandon, who is known from the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and she played Janet Weiss.
Among about like 5 billion other things.
Wow. Yeah, and like she's been in so many different films, TV shows, all kinds of, Susan Sarandon, she's pretty freaking huge. And then you got Lena Headey, who played Callista Cornell. She was known from Game of Thrones. She played Cersei Lannister. Very recognizable person as well. Carrie Fisher, may her soul rest in peace. She played an alternate street speaker.
Yeah, an important part.
Yeah, she was the voice of the speaker that was on the streets that made any announcements. No, she's not that speaker. I know we throw many Destiny references to every episode that we do. But obviously, Carrie Fisher is mainly known for playing Princess Leia in Star Wars. Then you had John Slattery, who played Admiral Havelock. He played Howard Stark in Iron Man 2. Tony Stark's father, as
Papa
well
Stark.
as in
Got the. Oh,
Captain
I'm
America
not gonna
Civil
say.
War.
Yeah, he was in Captain America: Civil War. It's still a relatively new movie, so I wasn't gonna go any further with what I was gonna say there.
Oh,
Yeah.
yep.
Um, yeah. Piero Joplin was played by Brad Dourif, who played Wormtongue in The Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers.
And
Huh?
he was also Chucky
Okay.
in the Child's Play movies.
Fucking
Yeah.
hate those movies.
Michael Madsen, that crazy sumbitch, played the voice of Daoud. Perfect part for him. He played Mr. Blonde in Reservoir Dogs and a bunch of other crazy people in the movies. Chloe
If
Grace
there's anybody
Moretz,
listening that hasn't seen that movie,
watch
you
it.
should probably go watch it.
Yeah,
Like
go
right
watch
now.
it now. Reservoir Dogs is a great movie. That lady Emily Caldwin, the Wise, was played by Chloe Grace Moretz, who's most known for playing Hit Girl in the Kick-Ass movies. And April Stewart, who played Empress Jessamine Caldwin the First, is mainly known from voice acting on South Park, where she played Sharon Marsh, Leanne Cartman, and Wendy.
Okie dokie.
So yeah, some great music, big voice actors to play the roles of some of their characters, and they actually had some Easter eggs in Dishonored as well. Like I don't know, have you guys played Thief at all?
Little bit.
I haven't really played it that much.
I didn't like it.
But evidently, Thief: The Dark Project was a big inspiration and influenced was Arcane Studios while they were making Dishonored. So to like kind of pay homage to that, they put an Easter egg for that game. It's in Mission 7 called the Flooded District at Dawood's base. If you go to where there's 2 guards training and you listen to their dialogue, the dialogue of their conversation is almost identical to the tutorial mission from Thief: The Dark Project, which I found that was pretty cool.
I mean, I could see that though. I mean, from what I remember with Thief, it's very, it's kind of it's very stealth oriented. I mean, they took that though for Dishonored and definitely jumped it up a lot though, because Thief's a lot more strictly stealth based as opposed to this where you can really go at it any way you want.
Yeah, you could definitely tell they were influenced by the Thief series of games with Dishonored's development. Another very well-known game, I would say, nowadays is Portal. So they threw a little Easter egg for Portal in there. In Piero's workshop, there's a door that kind of looks like there's a portal painted on it with some writing on the wall next to it. They call it Piero's Door to Nowhere. And the text slyly suggests that Piero went on to create the portal guns in that game after he finished with his work in the Dishonored series. So, just a couple of Easter eggs that popped out at me while doing research for this game here. Now, DC, I don't remember. Did you say that you played this game at all, or?
I played the first one a little bit. I mean, I kind of want to possibly pick up the second one as well because I was watching a lot of gameplay on the second one as well, and it just looks goddamn awesome. But I never finished the first one. But I mean, what kind of interested me though was that how they mixed kind of the sort of steampunk-ish look with the like more mystical supernatural powers. I thought that was kind of a neat little twist, neat little set of scenery, way to set a scene. And it was honestly, it's really different from most things out at the time too, just because of everything that they put into it. From visual as well as just the concept in general. And then like with the chaos system, I'm kind of a sucker for neat gameplay mechanics.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
And I like that just because it was so different. It wasn't just your good versus evil. You could basically play it how you wanted, and you could still get a whole variety of different endings to it.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's about my experience with that game. But what about you? I mean, have you either of you played much of it?
I haven't played it, unfortunately. But I really appreciate the fact that the game is based on, stealth primarily. I mean, that's the main focus that it seems, or at least the vibe that I get from it. As you mentioned, DC, the whole steampunk and magic, and that's it's a really cool grouping. I mean, most of the time, if there's magic involved, like the scenery it's
More
portrayed in
fantasy.
yeah, it's more
Yeah,
fantasy. The color palette is more
forest.
bright and
Yeah.
vibrant, whereas they took a complete different approach for where they put you as far as the place inside the game. I mean, you could just plow your way through this environment and not really try to go the stealthy route, but again, with the chaos system, as we touched on, it would kind of throw extra things in there just to make it a little more difficult for the player if they decided to go that route, which is cool, but no hands-on experience, unfortunately, myself. What about you, Drake?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. Around this time
Yeah.
I was like transitioning out of the Navy, so I had like all that shit going on. Plus, like this came out like right after Borderlands 2, and
Oh,
I
yeah.
was I was balls deep in probably my third or fourth character on that game when this came
Yeah.
out. So I was like, I could get Dishonored, or I can continue playing Borderlands 2. So I went that route.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I
Borderlands
didn't
2 ate a
finish.
lot of my time up as well, so.
Yeah.
Yep.
Um, I'm sure it was a delicious game though. But unfortunately, I had another meal to attend to.
A much larger meal.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like this game should have been pretty well received. What do we have
Yeah.
for the reviews and stuff?
Yeah, the reviews seem to be pretty positive. All in all, very favorable.
Okay.
Metacritic score of 91 for PC, 89 for PS3, 88 for Xbox 360. So that's kind of a, 1 point really.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's pretty decent.
yeah. Game Informer had given the game an 8.75 out of 10. GameSpot 9 out of 10, and IGN 9.2 out of 10. So this again proves the point that we do these like reviews of each game, and like they're not like the actual reviews aren't consistent in a very good way, because it means like these people are actually doing their jobs and reviewing games, as opposed to it could have been Game Informer 9, GameSpot 9, IGN 9, all of them give them like the high praise for the game.
Yeah.
But like it was nice to like see different numbers here. um the week before release, Dishonored was the third best-selling game on Steam based on pre-orders.
Damn.
And during the um it was they were probably cheersing themselves. During the first week of sales in the UK, it actually was the second best-selling game on all formats, close behind FIFA 13, which was in its third week out. In North America, Dishonored was listed as the fourth best-selling game in October of 2012, only being topped by Pokemon Black 2, Resident Evil 6,
Yep.
and NBA 2K13. It did sell, however, 460,200 physical units, so not too shabby.
That
Not at all.
Interesting enough, the during Thanksgiving weekend in 2012, it was the number one game on Steam. Apparently, people wanted to play this while they had some of the some delicious turkey in their tum tums. It was slated. It wasn't stated whether it was really discounted or anything, being Black Friday weekend, but still, it was pretty impressive for a new IP. They
Yeah.
they're doing pretty good. And let's not pretend. I mean, this is a month, about like almost 2 months after the release of the game. That's usually when a game starts dying off. Like, oh well. 2 months after, like nowadays, like a game comes out and like a week later it's a fucking old game.
Yeah, sales start to, peter off a
And
bit, and
they peter off a little bit, unless the only game on the system, like I don't know, Zelda Breath of the Wild, then
yeah.
that people don't have a choice. You know, you can put out, well, it's still selling great 3 months later. Well, it's the only game on the fucking system. What do you expect?
I mean, you could
People
play
still
1,
like-
2 Switch or
Yeah.
the remake of Mario Kart 8. Come on.
Well, yeah, I mean, they have that now. I was just saying. But, like, it'd be like
yeah,
having a hot dog. And only having, like, ketchup available for it. You'd be like, well, ketchup's still our best seller with the hot dog.
Yeah,
Well, that's the
damn, we're
only
selling a
fucking
shit ton of
thing we have.
ketchup.
But anyways, on to the awards.
Dun dun dun.
I know.
And the
the
winner
ever-popular Spike VGAs in 2012, which I still have yet to ever watch. Dishonored was named Best Action Adventure Game. It also received nominations for Best Graphics, Best PS3 Game, Best Studio, Best Xbox 360 Game, and the coveted Game of the Year. So Arcane already had a great name, and this, you know, basically solidified it for him. During the DICE Interactive Achievement Awards in 2013, it received nominations for Adventure Game of the Year, Outstanding Achievement Awards for Art Direction, Game Direction, Gameplay Engineering, and Story. So these are based on like the more technical awards, which is you know gives me a fucking rock hard boner. It also won the award for Audience Choice, so good for it. A lot of people seem to have liked this game.
Yeah.
At the GDC Award in 2013, Dishonored was nominated for Best Game Design, Best Narrative, Best Visual Arts, and Game of the Year. Which hopefully, like, I would say like 2012, from what I remember at least, had some awesome fucking games. So to be like considered Game of the Year in like a year like that, good on you. Good job.
Yeah, even just to get nominated.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be like, what was it, 1994, where it was Forrest Gump, Pulp Fiction, and Shawshank Redemption all came out in that summer that year. So it's just like, Jesus.
Yeah.
Not the
That's
year
rough.
to put out a movie at that
I
point.
know. if you're the other two movies, you're just like, okay, we gotta fucking leave.
Here you go.
What are our odds of taking this one home, Jim? About 50 to 1. Fuck.
All right, I'm just gonna stay home and have sex with one of my assistants.
Even though it was a great game, there has to have been some problems, though.
Oh yeah. A lot of reviewers criticized the AI for being a little inconsistent. Some enemies could spot Corvo from far away. God, this one would drive me fucking nuts. I always hate when, like, you know, especially like games based on stealth, where you're like over here and he just sees you out of nowhere, and it's just like, because like the way they code it is like they basically make it a, like, if he's like one of those enemies that does this, it's basically like a cone that goes out and just kind of spins around. So
Yeah.
that's basically the way it's coded. But like to have it like fucking inconsistent would just like, it'd make me pull my ball hairs out. It's better than throwing my controller. It's $60. My ball hairs will grow back.
Yeah.
The inconsistent detection by the enemies led to unreliable stealth mechanics, sometimes force the player into a combat situation where they're more stealth focused. And like the issue with this is, like, if you're going for that coveted no kill ending, you could be on this part.
You can get screwed. Yeah, the guy detects you from like 3 rooms away, and then all of a sudden you're fucked.
I wonder if, like, if you were like, if you had like your headphones on, you just hear this bubble. I see you there. It's like, what? Where? And
I can't even see anybody. Where the hell is this guy?
Followed
And
by,
then you're
get out of that chair. What?
like 15 fucking minutes of a guy just like trembling down like 3 flights of stairs and coming through 7 rooms. Oh, I knew you were here the whole time.
Yeah.
What the fuck? When alerted, enemies would fight well, but otherwise would ignore actions performed right in front of them, which kind of sucks too, because you public urination right on them.
You're peeing on him. He's just like,
Yeah.
If you didn't alert them into impending combat, you can just sit there, piss on their leg, pants them. They wouldn't care.
Take a swig for Slackjaw.
give him a wet willy and just.
Fist him.
Ooh, that was, oh my god, come on, Drake.
I meant like punch.
Yeah.
Okay,
God.
alright, yeah. I mean, it seemed like
would
that
ruin
was
your
the
choice of
only.
stealth, though.
What's that?
That would ruin your stealthy technique. I'm pretty sure he'd know you were there if I was in a fist in the ass.
Well, he may be into that sort of thing. He may take him to Nirvana. So, anyways.
Good. I don't know we were talking about grunge
I got
bands
him.
this week.
I got him. There we go.
Never a dull moment here at Gamecast Continuum. For look. Anyway, so you guys have any final thoughts on the game at all? Like how the game was launched?
PSN Plus.
Yeah.
I think it sounds like a really great game. But it's just like timing. Like, I already have a big backlog of games right now, so it's like if this game were free on PSN, I'd probably give it a shot over a long weekend.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, it seems like they did a lot right with it. I mean, yeah, obviously you have bugs here and there, but what game? I mean, at this point,
oh yeah,
most games out have some form of bugs. I mean, the thing is that with PS3, I mean, things weren't updated as frequently either. From what I remember.
This is true. Yeah, it was like a weird thing. Plus, the development for the PS3 kind of sucked.
Right. So I mean,
like royally sucked.
Yeah.
But aside from a couple, AI issues, everything else it did, from going from scenery to just gameplay and like everything that they did with the game was fairly innovative in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I mean, yeah, if it came to probably PSN, I'd probably at least give it a shot. Like I'm not a big stealth, like completely stealth game person.
It's kind of what I do that on a lot of games. I find like the stealth thing to be like, not only is it more challenging, but it sometimes feels better when you actually, you get that stealth takedown and shit like that. Like on Horizon Zero Dawn or Fallout. I tend to like kind of lean towards the more stealthy stuff because it's more pleasurable for me.
Oh.
It adds a certain layer of difficulty on top of what else the game development studio has put in there for you. I mean, it's kind of neat.
You're kind of neat.
Well, thank you, Drake. My mom used to call me special and said I'd be dangerous if I was given a brain, but anyway, I've already randomly selected which era we're going to be doing the game from next week, and that is the 2010s again. So it's going to be another relatively recently released game.
If it's Borderlands 2, I'm going to shit a fucking brick.
Yep.
Game number 50, which is Street Fighter V.
Oh!
Game that had a shit ton of problems when it first launched.
Really new.
Yeah. All
right. Sweet.
Yeah. So that's chosen for episode number 13.
Down to forward punch. Hadouken.
Down forward punch. Yeah. Or down forward punch for the Shoryuken uppercut.
What's a pound cake?
But yeah, we did the final thoughts. We picked the game. I think it's about time to wrap this puppy up there, DC. What do you say?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's going to do it. As always, it's DC Skater Shane here. You can find me mainly Twitter at DC Skater Shane. I mean, I have a YouTube channel as well. Not a lot on it. Working on getting that back up. What about you guys? Care to plug yourself?
Yeah, I'll plug myself. Always before I go to bed.
Ooh.
Like Drake suggested earlier. But anyway, this has been Mr. Bojangles 1984. You find me on Twitter, YouTube, here on Mixer, It's all Mr. Bojangles 1984. You should go follow, subscribe, all that stuff. Same for
Check us
DC
out.
and Drake as well. Yeah.
What about you,
And-
Princess?
Fucking Lord help you if you ever say you should do anything before bed, just like Drake says.
Mhm.
I am back on Twitter at Drake Dangerson 1. I'll have to find the other one, and we'll have to meet in a garage and see who cuts each other's heads off. There could be only one. And then I'm on
Otter
Twitch.
Squad.
Yeah, Otter Squad. Oh, Drake _ Dangerson and Drake Dangerson on YouTube.
Excellent.
All right.
Mhm.
Thanks everybody for watching here live on Mixer, watching our videos over on YouTube, or listening to the audio versions over on Podbean or iTunes or wherever else you're getting the feed from. But if you haven't already, give us a follow on Twitter. Subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Keep up to date with everything. And really send feedback to gamecastcontinuum@gmail.com, or shoot out tweets to any of our personal accounts, or even the GCC account as well. Just looking for feedback, looking for anything to really make the show better for you guys.
Even some corrections like Drake brought up earlier in the episode, which is something I never really thought of before. Because anything that we've misinformed you about, just let us know so we can address it in a future episode. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. But I think that's gonna do it. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll see you next week for another great episode of Gamecast Continuum.
Peace out, everybody.
Look out for that stealth fist.
Yeah.